Good evening, YouTube. I am your boy, Big Trey. I apologize. I've been away so long. I've been on vacation. I've had a lot of stuff going on, and I apologize for not getting back to you sooner. That being said, welcome back to another episode of the not so official NCAA Pick'em preview show. First, I want to give a big shout out to where'd you go? Great White Adventures. Went diving with the guys out there in San Francisco. Had a great time on vacation. Big shout out to Tux and all the crew out there. So, without spending any more time on the niceties, let's go ahead and get right into it for week 11. It's already week 11. Can you believe it? First off, we're going to start off with the ACC. We just do this in alphabetical order. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the OCD in me, but that's what it is. Starting off with number 2 Clemson at number 17 Boston College. The march towards the playoffs continues for the Tigers. They take on the Golden Eagles there in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Clemson looks to remain undefeated. It's a simple thing. They look to be just every bit as powerful as Bama is right now, if not more so. And the Golden Eagles are winners of the 4 of their last 5, so they're showing a lot of improvement as the season goes along. Like I said, Clemson's been building on the block, hanging numbers, just ridiculous numbers on everybody. If Boston to the tune of 48 points per game, that's a lot per game. That's averaging, and they hung. It was 70-17 against Louisville the other week. Just crazy numbers. Definitely, Trevor Lawrence has Dabo Swinney's offense clicking on all cylinders. If Boston hopes for any chance of an upset, they need to focus on keeping their own quarterback, Anthony Brown, upright. He showed a lot of promise during the year and has had a lot of success. But the outlook for this one, not favoring the home team. Looks like they'll be heading back down to Spartanburg with a W. I like Clemson by 21 at least. There on the road. Moving on, next we have Wake Forest taking on in-state rival NC State. The number 14 Wolfpack, they will play host to the Demon Deacons Thursday night there in Raleigh. After back-to-back losses, NC State backed up. Really? With a convincing win over Florida State last week. The Demon Deacons, they're looking to rebound after a loss to number 19 Syracuse. NC State looks to have success with senior Ryan Finley and his nearly 2,500 yards worth of passing. The Demon Deacons will look to get the ball in the hands of their talented sophomore wide receiver Greg Dortch in hopes of his big play abilities being able to put some points on the board. NC State has a great opportunity for a solid finish there in the ACC. I'll go ahead and let them get into the weekend with a victory. Let them enjoy the weekend. Maybe go watch some other ball games around the country. But I see NC State by 14. Okay. Now, keep in mind these are just my guesses, my predictions, what I see happening. You think you know better? Play the game. Lastly, for the ACC, we have North Carolina and Duke. In a matchup of basketball schools, we have two teams trending in total opposite directions. North Carolina seems to be just in a tailspin here lately, and I feel like Duke is coming off a major confidence-boosting win over Miami last week. Players to watch for on both sides of the ball. Look for Duke sophomore Deion Jackson to have a big day for the Blue Devils on the ground as he shoots for his 3rd straight 100-yard game there for David Cutcliffe's crew. The Tar Heels will look for their own backfield tandem in Antonio Williams and Michael Carter, who are averaging 5.6 and 6.8 yards per carry, respectively. Nothing to sneeze at for those two. I like Duke's confidence coming again, coming against a struggling North Carolina squad. Duke double digits at home. I think. I think will be about right. About the glass slipper fitting just perfect. Moving on to the Big 12. First off, we have TCU and West Virginia. The Horned Frogs make a trip down from Fort Worth into Morgantown, up to Morgantown, I should say, and will get the opportunity to face off against Heisman hopeful Will Greer, who had a phenomenal game last week in their win over Texas with a 2-point conversion for the W. Big shout out to the Mountaineers and Dana Holgerson squad. Gary Patterson's squad defense doesn't seem to be holding up this year, as in years past. They're ranking in the bottom half of total defense, whereas normally they're in the top 15, top 20. TCU will definitely not be as fortunate as they were last week with Kansas State missing an extra point, and they escaped with a victory. Wilger will probably be hooking up with David Sills yet again, and Wilger is looking to make more of a statement for his Heisman push. They're getting a big deal over there in Morgantown. However, TCU's defense, like I said before, not up to their usual standard. That spells trouble for them in a high-flying Holgerson offense. I see West Virginia big at home by at least 2 TDs. Moving on down to Oklahoma, we have Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. The Cowboys make their 80-mile trip from Stillwater to Norman to tie up with their in-state rival on Saturday. Look for Coach Gundy to gain continuity after dropping a 4-point loss to Baylor last week. The Sooners look to continue their march towards not only conference championship, but the playoff picture as well, which they're going to have to win out. Fortunately, they have their own Heisman contender there in Kyler Murray, who has been putting up great numbers and has looked really good. The former Texas A&M transfer looks to have another fine day, as he's got 31 TDs through the air versus 5 picks and an additional 7 touchdowns on the ground. So the kid can literally do it all, and he's got a lot of highlight material to send the guys up at the Downtown Athletic Club. OSU looks for their own ground pounder in Justin Hill. The guy's a tank. I got to watch him against Boise State, and he's a monster. Runs hard. He's got about 900 yards on the ground, and they're going to want to control the ball and just basically take it out of Oklahoma's hand if they hope to have a chance to win. That being said, Oklahoma State puts up 563 yards on average per game. That is astounding. I don't think the Cowboys are going to outgun them. I'll take Oklahoma by 21 on Saturday in the in-state rivalry game. Moving on down further south, we have Texas at Texas Tech. Two teams that need win desperately for entirely different reasons. Both programs, after they've lost their last 2, Texas lost 2 games that were decided by 4 points or less for both games. They were decided by 4 points. They had the 1-point loss against West Virginia, and they lost to Iowa State? Can't remember. That being said, Sam Ellinger has the Longhorns having quite a bit of continuity, and he's having a very good year. But he'll be looking to capitalize on the nearly 300 yards Texas Tech likes to give up per game through the air. So, rest assured, he'll be throwing the ball around. However, Texas Tech's Antonio Wesley has just he has put up numbers just as big as his 6'5" frame. The guy's a wide receiver. He's 6'5", 200 pounds, and boy, he's got 70 catches already in the year. To go along with that, he's also getting down the field after the catch. 1,178 yards to go along with those catches. He is a matchup nightmare. This game would come down to a last possession, a misplaced pick, a fumble. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a shootout. I like the Red Raiders at home. I don't think Texas is quite over that heartbreaker last week. And they're still a young squad. I think they got a little growing up to do. I think Texas Tech wins at home by a touchdown or less. So, could go either way, I think. Moving on to the Big Ten, we have the Ohio State Buckeyes squaring off, the number 10 Ohio State Buckeyes squaring off with the number 18 Michigan State Spartans. Urban Meyer squad, they will make the trip down to East Lansing to take on Mark D'Antonio's squad there on Saturday. The Buckeyes are averaging nearly 550 yards a game, another offensive juggernaut. The Spartans have a solid defense and are allowing just 19 points. So, bit of a sharpening steel deal. Could be a really good game. I think that stingy D of Michigan State's, you're not going to get a whole lot on the ground. They're allowing 71 points per game rushing. So if Ohio State's going to do it, it's going to be through the air, which Connor Hayward's their quarterback. Not Connor Hayward. Dwayne Haskins. He's got Heisman numbers, but will Ohio State hold on enough and win enough games for him to be considered? For that to happen, you got to beat number one. Beat the team in front of you on any given day. Saturday that day is Michigan State. So look for Connor Hayward to continue his recent performance as he rushed for 157 yards and 2 TDs over Maryland last week for the Spartans. Spartans could play spoiler there at home. I don't see it happening. I think that fast-paced attack that Urban Meyer's got there in Columbus travels well, and I think Ohio State holds on probably by less than a touchdown. Let's just say less than a touchdown. Moving on to Wisconsin, Penn State. Man, what could have been for these two schools? A lot of promise coming into the year, and I feel like these two schools have underachieved. Badgers looking to get 2 in a row as they come down to Happy Valley. Nittany Lions are reeling after that 35-point beatdown from Michigan last week. It weren't pretty. No real surprises for Wisconsin keys to victory. You got some beef up front. I mean, these guys are 315 or better all across the board, and you got a running back who loves to grind it out and get some yards. Jonathan Taylor. It's a stretch, but he's already got 1,400. So with 3 really good games coming up, he could actually hit that 2-century mark there for the Wisconsin Badgers. It's not a real secret that Wisconsin runs the ball. For Penn State, the answer lies in the arms and legs of that scrappy, lovable, dual-threat senior quarterback, Trace McSorley. And so he goes, so seemingly do the Nittany Lions. So, for them to have a good day, he better have a good day. If Wisconsin can keep McSorley bottled up in the pocket, get him down for a few sacks, it will greatly increase their chances at a shot for the W. I think they can get it. I'm going to roll with the Badgers going into Happy Valley and coming out away with a victor by about 3. I don't think it'd be a blowout. So Good game to watch. Lastly, on the Big 12, the Big 10 docket, sorry, we have Northwestern and Iowa. The Wildcats will make the trip across the state line there into Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes. Both teams looking to improve their bowl positions really Saturday. Uh, Iowa maintains their hard-nosed run defense, allowing just 86 yards per game on the ground. Fortunately for the Wildcats, they like throwing the ball. Quarterback Clayton Thompson already has 347 passing attempts. So the kid knows how to throw the ball, and they like to get it done through the air. This could be a mauling for the Hawkeyes, though. They're I've said it before. These guys are a big, nasty, physical. What you would commonly refer to as Big Ten type. Big O line, big running back, stout defense. I think Iowa gets it done there at home by a touchdown or less. Dry words. Moving on to the Pac-12, we've got Washington State at Colorado, or Washington, as some people like to say it. I don't get it. There's no R in it. The Cougars make the trip down to the heartland of the Rockies into Boulder to take on the Buffaloes. Washington State is looking to maintain their dominance at the top of the Pac-12 North and their number 8 ranking, which also has national title implications. So, important for them to win. Colorado is just reeling after the first week in November, and the month of October was not nice to them. They dropped 4 of 5, and which is a little disappointing, to be honest with you, because they started out really well in conference play and out of conference play. That month of September, they put up some really good games and kind of fell flat the second month. Look for Mike Leach's Washington State squad to get it done through the air, as his teams always seemingly do, putting up nearly 400 yards a game passing. One thing's for sure, if he's got a quarterback, he's going to throw it. So the Buffs are going to answer with Steve Montez, okay, who is not only a dual threat quarterback, he's no slouch himself throwing the ball, getting it done passing wise. He's had over 5 games with 300 plus yards, so that's a little over half. So that's pretty encouraging for a Buffalo squad who was kind of searching for an identity coming into the year, and you gotta like what they're doing. So the scoreboard might break on Saturday, but if it does, I don't see Washington being on the wrong side of it. I say Washington by 10. Sound good? Yeah, sure, why not? Moving on to Washington at Oregon. The Ducks fly south, take on the Utes there in Salt Lake City. Both teams, similar record. Utah is looking to maintain its perch atop of the Pac-12 South, however. To do so, they'll rely on that balanced offensive attack headlined by Zach Moss, who's already got 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns from the tailback position. The Ducks will look to homegrown junior Justin Ebert, or Herbert, all depending on what part of the country you're from. And the Ducks, he'll be leading the Ducks' high-flying offense. Yes, pun intended. Talent-wise, I like both teams, but I like the Utes at home by a field goal. Lastly, in the Pac-12, I didn't really know which way to go with this game. It's going to be Cal versus USC. The Golden Bears make the trip down the coast, down to sunny LA, take on the Trojans there in the Coliseum. Honestly, the best thing about this game is going to be the weather. It'll be 77 degrees there in California, or there in LA, and that'll be nice to get away from the blustery Bay Area there that Cal is used to. Just 2 5-4 programs playing. One team's going to win, one team's going to lose. Kind of a rivalry game. It's in-state versus in-state school. That being said, I'll go with the men of Troy, USC by 7 at home. On to the SEC. In a rivalry game that pits the Bluegrass Cats against good old Rocky Top there in Neyland Stadium. Been there for this game. It was a lot of fun. If I never hear Rocky Top again, it'll be too soon. But Kentucky's still stinging after that loss to Georgia. Might be looking to get a little revenge, and Tennessee is just the right team to do it against. Because they have continued to look unimpressive, especially after their 14-3 victory over Charlotte last week. Not a good look. Not a good look. There's a reason Butch Jones is in Tuscaloosa right now. Look for Benny Snell, yeah, to have a great day against a porous Volunteers defense. I see a happy trip back to Lexington and the Commonwealth for Coach Mark Stoops and the Wildcats. I'm going to go Kentucky by 10. Moving on, we have number 24 Auburn facing off with Georgia in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. This year's meeting will be taking place in Athens. Georgia, they have a game plan, and that game plan should be to pound the ever-loving snot out of the ball on the ground. Auburn can't stop it, and Georgia has an O-line full of young, large mammals. Big boys, averaging well over 300 pounds across the line. And, oh yeah, they've got a vicious, nasty 1-2 punch at tailback between Elijah Holyfield and DeAndre Swift. So, yeah, those are recipes for a 300-yard day on the ground. That being said, Auburn will place all its hopes in the arm of Jared Stedham and hopes he can find that some of those young, talented receivers that popped up last week during the Texas A&M game and about midway through the fourth quarter. But offensive woes are the name of the game this year for Auburn. Their offensive line has struggled greatly. Georgia looks to avenge last year's season loss, even though they met again in the SEC championship. It still stings whenever you lose to your rival during the season. Georgia's set up for their rematch with Alabama in the SEC title. To do that, they need to make sure they're firing on all cylinders. They're going to use Auburn as another stepping stone, I feel. I don't like to say it, but it looks like it's a good day to be a dog. Georgia by 2 touchdowns. And finally, a worthy opponent for the number 1 team in the country. Mississippi State, Alabama. Just kidding. I'm kidding. There's it's still it's still Alabama. Sorry. Until they start playing NFL teams, it doesn't look like there's going to be any competition. Until that team from Death Valley, and no, I'm not talking about the one in Baton Rouge. This week, they'll take on the boys of Starkville. The Bulldogs take that hour-long drive down Highway 82 right to the front steps of Bryant-Denny and get out and square off with Nick Saban's crew. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Heisman frontrunner and Hawaii's own Tua Tagovailoa. The guy has 27 touchdowns and 1 pick. 27 touchdowns and 1 pick. That's really good for those of you that don't speak football. And oh yeah, he's got a quarterback rating of 96.8. 100 is perfect. Deadly accurate. Good competitor. Great guy from everything I've seen on him. And in no small part to him, but to his offensive line who manhandled LSU last week. Sorry, Baton Rouge. affiliates, they got pushed around a lot. And oh yeah, he's thrown to about 4 different wide receivers who are sophomores or younger. So this could continue for a while. Get ready. That being said, Mississippi State is a very senior laden team with their own dynamic quarterback in Nick Fitzgerald. However, if he wants to win, he needs to cut down on the mistakes because mobile quarterbacks and quarterbacks that can run, they give Nick Saban squads fits. Doesn't like them. On the other side of the ball, Mississippi State has a lot of senior laden upperclassmen and on defense, led by Montez Sweat, and they know how to perform big games. So, I feel like if there was anybody that was equipped to handle something like Alabama, that doesn't have a coach named Dabo, it would be Mississippi State. However, based on the talent alone, I'm going to roll with the Tide. Not really, though, but yeah, Alabama's going to win this one. Look for them to win by 3 touchdowns, and it probably won't be even close. Maybe we'll have a Jalen Hurts sighting. You never know. Lastly, we have the cupcake of the week, and I had to search far and wide to find somebody who wasn't in a league game this week that had a nasty point spread, and I found Liberty Fighting Chickens or Warhawks or whatever they are, facing off with the University of Virginia. The University of Virginia. The spread is 23. Virginia likes to cover the spread a lot. Look for a big win on Virginia campus. I think it's homecoming. But that about does it for my week 12. For my week 11. Like I said, if you stay with me this long, I truly appreciate it. Coming to you from the bunker here in Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Please, as always, like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any comments for me, leave them down below. And if you want to schedule, leave more comments for me below, and I'll get them to you as soon as possible. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope to see you again next time.